in. Welcome back to Weekend Edition. This is Rehash, where we recap the big stories of the week. And so, Crystal, big news with the Aghababa trial.
Yes, big news out of the courtroom. I've been following this story for 4 years now, and so to see it end like this was a big shocker, especially to me. Earlier this week, the court dismissed the case against Alan Aghababa. Again, he's accused of aggravated murder of his mother, Shelley Bernstein, who was only 55 years old, and she was found dead in her Toomuning apartment. So the government had a few ideas of how she passed, and they believe that it was one, either Alan hit her and she died of blunt force trauma to the head, or two, that he placed fentanyl patches on her, and so she was found with these fentanyl patches. They're prescription painkillers on her arm, and she might have died from overdose, but they couldn't make their case. They couldn't prove the case, and you could see that because twice he faced a jury, and both times they were hung juries, which rendered a mistrial. And ultimately, in the surprising turn of events, the government was actually the one that filed that motion to dismiss without prejudice, and that means that in the future he could be tried again for the similar or the same charge, but at this point they've said they will not proceed with a third trial. So now he's a free man after 4 years behind bars. He was released, it was Thursday or Wednesday, and I think the first thing he did was he went out to spend time with his family.
Yeah.
How about you, Nick?
So from one court case to another, it's over to the Department of Corrections, again speaking about those officers involved in that alleged scheme to smuggle contraband into the prison. We've seen more and more defendants come out of this case, but right now we're dealing with the main 13. Out of those 13, one of those, former officer Jerry Hokog, actually was granted the motion to sever his case from the rest. Of course, his defense attorney, J.R. Elliott, asking that his case be separated because he doesn't have as aggressive charges as the others, and so he doesn't want the jury to take it as at face value and see his client and bump him all in with the rest. And so he thinks that it'll be a fair trial if he's tried separately, and his trial date is set for December 10th. The rest still going through all the motions before that 3,000 pages of discovery is all filtered through, and then they set dates for the rest.
And so switching to the political scene, the legislature was in session this week, and a couple of the bills had to do with election reform. One of them was from Senator Tommy Morrison, and you know how we're used to seeing all those political campaign signs on the roadways? Well, that will be no more if the governor signs it into law. His bill prohibits political signage on public rights of way. It does not preclude on private property, because of course he can't regulate that. So, but it still allows for candidates who are carrying signs to do the wave that we're also very much used to. That's not prohibited. So as long as they're carrying the signs, they can be on the public roadways and do the wave that we always see during campaign season. The second bill was by Senator Joe Essen Augustine, and that would be to relieve the Guam Election Commission of from conducting primary elections. He believes the taxpayers shouldn't have to pay for that. It should be the responsibility of the political parties, and if the political parties want to conduct their primaries, they can do so, but he doesn't want the taxpayers to foot the bill. But when it came up for a vote, there were some questions about it, so Speaker B.J. Cruz referred it back to committee, and Senator Essen Augustine says he's going to further amend it and try to push for a public hearing so that he can get it on the next legislative session next month.
Well, switching gears again to public health, you probably remember when 4 food stalls at the Guam Premier Outlets were shut down earlier this month due to signs of a rodent and cockroach infestation. And so once again earlier this week, San Jose Supermarket in Maiti was closed down, 3 of its facilities, due to signs of both a rodent and cockroach infestation. Someone filed a complaint saying they saw feces in the facility, so public health did their inspection, found that complaint was valid, and shut the supermarket down, so they'll be working to correct those. We did reach out to the supermarket earlier this week, but they hadn't responded to us as of news time. But ending on some good news, the 4 stalls that were closed at GPO, at least 3 of them were re-inspected this week. All 3, Mongo Mongo, Imperial Garden, and China Walk received an A rating with 0 demerit, so they will be reopening. Well, don't forget, if you have any news tips, just email us at reporters@kuam.com.